Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Louis D'Souza and Amy Blackford. Today is Monday, July the 13th, 2020. It is 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm very happy to report that so far the reports that I'm getting from listeners, from co-hosts, is that the app is pretty darn good. I like that. It's like, hey, okay, we got a home run out of the gate. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Especially after all that work you put into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then not working to actually get it to work.
Yes, right. It was the project that I think from most people's perspective, I found out it actually went fairly quickly. From my perspective, it was dragging. It was going so
Oh, yes,
slow.
of course. When things aren't going the way you want, it just feels like molasses.
Exactly. Well, also, this is using a software platform that I first started to learn in November. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn where software is concerned. I'm not a great software engineer. My brother is the software engineer.
Yeah, me either.
I know enough I built websites for years, so I know how to do that. I know some PHP and then JavaScript and so forth, but this definitely taxed my abilities in ways that I didn't know.
Challenged you.
Oh, really challenged me, yes. So I figured the first 6 months was learning. You know, it was basically me going to school. But even so, during all that time, I was working on an app for my wife's gardening business. She has a gardening services and maintenance business, and it really needs an app. And I kind of had to put it aside, partly because we were already starting the gardening season, and partly because I needed a break from it. And then my Friday co-hosts, Linda and Rita, said, well, you know, you've been talking about doing an LOA Today app. They said this in like early May. And I said, yeah, it's going to be a few months down the line. They said, no. Use what you know about law of attraction and manifest it sooner. That you can get that in days. So I kind of took the challenge, and that's when everything really started to drag for me, and everything was moving really quickly for everybody else. But it worked. It worked.
Yes.
I mean, because, you know, it was the same experience that it had been for the last 6 months. The last 6 months were basically run into a barrier, run into a barrier, run into a barrier, run into a barrier, run into a barrier. And I was still doing that, but I was now applying every single thing that I've ever learned about law of attraction and high vibration and so forth. So run into a barrier. Okay, get myself high vibe, run into another barrier. Okay, high vibe. Just like, which was quite challenging. Challenging was the word.
It really can be, but every time we do this, we reaffirm it. So each time the challenge gets bigger, and then when you overcome it by applying it, it just takes you to the next level of understanding. That's what
it's also like, it's kind of like going to the spiritual gym.
Yes.
Every time you're doing this, you're working the muscles a little bit more. You're getting stronger. You're able to lift more weight. You know, you're all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's building that mental, emotional muscle, basically.
Exactly, and it is paying off. Again, Louise and I was telling you this before the show. Louise and I went to the beach on Sunday. We were chatting about a variety of things, and one of the things was I'm really noticing how the work that I've been doing on myself, on my projects, as I'm doing my projects, learning to apply this stuff, is paying off. I am finding myself getting better at shifting my vibe. I'm finding myself being able to adjust better, to let go of stuff better, and so forth. So it really does pay off.
Oh, absolutely.
So on the beach, Walt, you were showing off your six-pack and your big muscles.
Yes, it was my six-pack mental abs is what it was.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody could see them, but, you know, that's all right.
They can feel them.
They can feel them, yes. Well, actually, they did feel them. It was kind of a funny thing because we actually went late in the day. We left our home, and it's like a 2-hour trip. We left at 1 p.m., you know, so we're trying to get there pretty late, and we didn't actually get onto the beach until about 4:30 because the beaches are fairly popular this time of year. But we finally got onto the beach, got past, the parking police and so forth. And once we were there, it was great, but it was also, the beach we got onto was a relatively smaller one and was quite crowded, especially by COVID standards. And Louise's first comment was, it's too noisy here, partly because there was a lot of surf, which was very loud, and partly because there was a lot of conversation. And so we decided, well, we need to manifest a little more quiet here. Do you know within a half an hour, like 3/4 of the beach emptied out? I mean, it was gone. It's like, where did they all go?
You created your own little parallel reality version of what you wanted. It's amazing.
Walt, you manipulated all those people. How dare you?
So,
oh, goodness.
Anyway, well, regarding the app, there's more coming because Daniel Mangina, who does the Tuesday and Thursday shows, has donated 2 of his prized pieces of work that he's done. One is an audio class series that he did on manifesting called Beyond Intention. And the second one is an ebook devoted specifically to manifesting money called Beyond Wealth. And he's donated both of them to the app. So those are being, incorporated into the app now. And that update, it's really going to come down to how quickly can I get the errors to iron out. Once the errors iron out, it's going to be
what
updated.
a wonderful gift to be given.
Oh, fabulous gift.
Love that.
Plus, we also will be adding somebody to the co-host list because, Amy, your bio is not in the first version because you just came in like at the last moment there.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be in the next update. So
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. And like I said, I put the LOA podcast. There's a page on my website now.
Oh,
just
fabulous.
to expose people to this wonderful conversation and dialogue that you're having. I think it's actually a really important piece and contribution, especially right now with everything that's happening, to help people take their focus, pull their focus away. We can experience the negative, but until we've learned how to manage it properly, it can be quite destructive. So I think it's a wonderful time, especially for people to be more and more exposed to this information.
Well, that's what's so great about having somebody like Louis as a co-host, because literally nothing sticks to Louis. I mean, it just like water rolls off his back. Nothing ever bothers him, and you
I
have
can't
that,
wait to get to that place. It's
you have
getting
that influence.
easier for me.
Oh, every week I have that influence, and you're going to get it now too every week. And when you have that influence, I mean, it does actually play a role in your own development.
That's right. Yeah, that's what this is all about as we collaborate and talk.
Don't blame me for your problems now.
Wait a minute, I thought I was complimenting you.
I love my Teflon coat.
I know, Louis, that you really like stories. So I was thinking about the first story that I'd love to share, and I talked to Walt about this, is where I began in my spiritual understanding, basically where...
You can go back that many lifetimes? I'm
impressed. In this lifetime. Because I'm always fascinated. This topic does fascinate me to see how did you end up here. I just think it's really neat to see people from all different cultures and traditions kind of coming to this convergence point.
I just want to know how you got that sexy voice.
Yeah, I have a low, raspy voice. Probably from all the talking over the years.
By the way, I can get the stories off to a good start here because Josie in our live stream has shared 2 manifestation stories.
I would love that.
So they're really short.
Hi, Josie.
She says,
Hi,
hey,
Josie.
well, I have 2 manifestation stories to share. The first one is that I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to go back to work. However, I scripted out emails from my supervisor telling me to come back, and Wednesday, I'm going back. And then secondly, my mom was unsure of work for the summer, but I wrote out in my journal, my mom has wonderful work for wonderful pay. Her wonderful work is here to stay. It even rhymed.
Yes, I love it.
And now she has a business aid job. So 2 manifestation stories in 1 week. That's pretty good. Well done, Josie.
And she was saying it in the present moment as if it had happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very important. Instead of saying I'm asking for or waiting for something, to just say it's already here really leaps you forward a bit.
No, it's a reflection of what your actual belief level is and how much
Yes.
you've actually built that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, I seem to be on this mission, but Josephine's now manipulating her boss. It's just like, wow.
Oh, Louis.
I just like the idea of this level of influence that we can have on our reality.
Yes, me too.
It's fun.
It really puts you in the power seat.
Especially when the other person doesn't know you're doing it.
Well, right.
Because No, 99 times out of 100, they're completely unaware of the influence.
Well, they're focused on their own world, Walt. So really, it's not really important to them most of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. But
it's not actually manipulation, because
no, not
they're
at all.
doing their own thing, living their own world, going their own way, and you just like small ships in the night who touch base with each other.
Yeah, I love how Abraham Hicks addresses this, and she says, you won't align with certain things or people until you're in that same vibrational range, and then you'll just miss each other when you're not. And I think that's a really good way of looking at it. So you converge with people when you're in that high vibration that are matching that.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing when you're in the lower vibrations.
Yeah, I try not to touch base with other people when I'm in the lower vibrations. I don't like what I get back, but I'm just saying.
Me too.
Amy, my wife does not like me for correcting her as often as I do when she says something that is not particularly clear. Now, I'm a clarity person, so when something's not clear, I go and I clarify it, and then I get into trouble. But never mind. So I'm going to do this with you. It's not she, it's they. You said Abram, and you talked about Abram as she instead of they.
Right. I'm thinking of Esther.
Yeah, yes. But Esther didn't say that. Abram did.
I can see why you're winning friends and influencing people, Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that book a long time ago, Walt.
Because they are two different things. She is the channeler, Esther, and it's the collective. So we is what comes through. So thanks for the correction.
Get used to it, AB. He does it a lot.
No problem.
I learned that on the first one when higher mind needed to be changed to higher self. But what's interesting, I didn't even flinch because that's actually what I used to call it.
Really?
All right.
And over the years, it was more of my perception of thinking of these two different aspects of thinking, or non-physical thinking versus analytical thinking, like Joe Dispenza talks about. And basically, it's the same thing being told from a scientific standpoint. So that also fascinates me. I love how we're seeing so many of the sciences starting to collect data that actually validates these concepts and these foundational laws that exist.
Yeah, that's something we were exploring quite a bit over the last few months. My sister-in-law was kind of in your chair. She was doing the Monday shows with Louie and I, and she's very, very scientifically oriented. So
nice.
Her degrees are in that area and so forth. And she was sharing all this stuff and giving us a pretty good overview of, how far they've come, how far they have to go, where, what's the part that they can validate, what's the part they can measure and so forth. And it's fascinating.
It is fascinating that they're even able to do that at this point.
Yeah. I think they're eventually going to be able to validate all the stuff that we believe in. It's just a question of how long will it take them to, first of all, identify what it is, and second of all, figure out how to measure it. But once they've got that,
exactly,
that's all it's really going to take.
The interesting thing,
we ever fully understand it, though?
Well,
the interesting thing Abram Hicks says about the law of attraction is said nobody can disprove it.
Yes.
And I loved that, and I sat and thought about it for quite a long time. Why can you not disprove the law of attraction? And when I was in the sauna, Amy hasn't heard the story well. When I was in the sauna, one of my sauna stories, one of my many sauna stories.
Louis is well known for his sauna stories.
This guy who spent 2 hours teaching me why he now believes that the earth is flat. And I watched YouTube videos and I got all the explanation and the understanding. And there's a huge amount of evidence that the world is actually flat. Huge. And when it came to the end of it, I said, that was really fascinating and I really enjoyed it. I now have a much greater appreciation and understanding of why the world might be flat. I said, but from my perspective, from a law of attraction perspective, if I study and I want to find that the world is round, I will find more evidence that the world is round because the law of attraction will bring in the cooperative components.
That's right.
And if I study and want to find that the earth is flat, the universe will bring in more cooperative components that will prove to me that it's flat. And he was so annoyed with me. He just turned around. He didn't say goodbye, anything. He just walked away. He was absolutely livid.
Yeah, that made him pretty mad to hear that.
I wasted the last 2 hours of my life. I can see it's going on in his brain.
I think it's time to do a refresher on that Dale Carnegie book. I'm telling you.
It is so true, though. Whatever we are looking for, we will find. It will match what we believe we're going to find.
Yeah.
But after sidetracking you so much, Amy, let's get going with the story.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I came from, my mom was Catholic, my dad Protestant. And then at some point they transitioned over to, I would say, like a Baptist style church.
Oh,
and it was
from Christian to Christian to Christian.
Yeah, yes. And it was all different forms.
Mm-hmm.
The last one being the most.
You can hardly recognize them as the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they actually are so different from my experience as a kid. And the last one was the most extreme. And basically, I kind of started when my parents got a divorce. I moved from Connecticut to South Florida, and it was like I'd been moved to another planet. And I told my mom I really didn't want to participate in church anymore, and she was okay with that. My first boyfriend I had met was Jewish, and he really opened my mind to the fact I was only, 15 years old, but that something was not right about what I'd been told, because here he had been raised in this tradition, and now I'm saying that God would punish this person for not believing what I did. And this sent me on my quest. I had friends of all different backgrounds in South Florida. And that's kind of what sent me on my quest. I knew there was this energy, this divine thing that I could feel. So I didn't question that part. It was just, I understood that what I'd been told was, I'm not even saying that it's a lie. It's misinterpreted. And I believe everyone has the free will to believe whatever they want, as long as it's serving them and they don't judge others based on that. I feel like everyone's direction spiritually is a personal choice. But this is what led me down this path, and it's been quite magical. One thing just kind of leading to the next. So as I kept investigating on my own and following what resonated, what felt right, and using that as my internal guidance system, it just more information started coming to me. And
it's great, great connection to make at that age, to know that you have to go inside. That's not something that normally happens when you're a teenager.
Yeah. My parents, I came from a background where I had to learn how to be very independent very quickly. And I really started questioning or observing the world around me in a way that, was a little bit unusual for my age, but in a positive way. I used my imagination a lot and was open. It actually opened me up more to exploring myself, because I wasn't really looking for guidance from them. So it was more, I was turning inward at an early age. So yes, I'm really glad that I challenged that part of myself, because that's what led me here. And I wouldn't call this isn't a religion. It's just spiritual. It's a spiritual connection.
That's a theme that plays up a lot among people in these LOA circles. I have a similar story that I've told many times. Louis has a similar story that he's told many times. I mean, it's all different. Everybody has different things that we've gone through, but it's amazing how so many people who are attracted to this topic are people who have gone through their own journey. They ran into something about what they were originally taught. It didn't really resonate. They kept exploring. They kept asking questions. People didn't have the answers. I mean, that theme just plays out over and over and over and over and over again.
It's when you quit accepting what's just been said to you and you start actually wanting to experience and have those experiences on your own.
Yeah.
So, Amy, I beat you. I was 8 years old when I started.
Nice. All right. You went up to me.
So, on the age of 8, I've told the story often. It's just, I went to my mom and I said, what is truth, love, and God really about? And she looked at me and like, and I realized, my parents are not going to be the ones that are going to teach me too much about what I really want to know. And I was pretty terrible at school. I was like, not failing. I was just scraping through. because I wasn't prepared to study anything that they gave me, history, biology, math, science, until they would teach me why the hell I was here. What am I doing here? And once I do that, maybe I can start studying all these things that you wanted, but get the fundamentals right, explain to me what I'm doing here. So from a young age, I was questioning a lot of things, and it was a fascinating journey, really. I've got a lot of epiphanies along the way. But you said 14 years old.
Yes, 14.
And I said 8.
Yes.
So I looked at it as the end of my 7th year or something. I'd had the 7th. There's a lot of things happen in 7 years in my life, and I got the integration of the 7, and I was going to really manifest it at the age of 8. And you kind of like bang on 14. That's the second 7 cycle.
Yes.
And I've seen that many times. 7, 14, 21. The 21 as well is a big one for a lot of people. And I see the cycles going like that, and it's really interesting because there is something to say with all these numbers and all the rest of it. I study a little bit of numerology, and I was just blown away by the accuracy of this. The accuracy of numerology, how it fitted into me and my life based on my name and my date of birth, etc., was just stunning. It just absolutely blew me away, and there is something to do with those numbers, I think.
It's interesting that you say 21, because that's when I met my husband, and I went through, he had been raised with all of these things that we're talking about. His parents were already on board with that, so he was raised that way.
So he was raised LOA rather than religion-y, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Right, okay.
they both were ministers at Unity, which is a non-denominational, and they study, basically, they put in modern terms all of the different religions and great masters that have walked the planet, but not the doctrine of the religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first met him, that was my next step in understanding even more, because he put into words and was able to articulate what I was already coming to understand. I just didn't have the language for it yet. And that fascinated me. And so it's really interesting that you said 21.
Interesting dating technique. Be somebody whose parents are Unity ministers, so you can attract your girlfriend. I hadn't heard that one before.
I was just fascinated that I met someone who was putting into words, which none of my other friends were. And, this inward journey, I was now getting feedback from someone and having a language to describe it. And I just found that so actually exciting. That
is important too. Having language to describe what it is that you're exploring is critical, because without it, you stumble around. That's when we reach out for other teachers and other people to talk to about it, because we know there's this thing. We can't describe what it is because we don't have the words for it. We feel the need to describe it, to explore it, but we don't have the words to do it, and we do everything with words. So it gets like, oh my God, what do I do?
What do I do with this?
Yeah. So it's really critical to have those words, and finding words is really fun, because then that's when
I'm a
you
word
have the explosion
nerd.
of ideas.
I love to write, so.
Mm-hmm. I've been watching in my life, Walt, how many people that I've drawn towards me that are on a similar level, and it's been very few. Very, very few. Most of the people I've been teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been something I've really enjoyed, and I've always enjoyed teaching, and I've always looked for people who are interested in what I want to share, and I've found many, many, many of them. Mm-hmm. And coming on the show, I'm now bumping into a lot of people that I can start relating to more on a similar level, which is very different for me. It's not something that I've got the opportunity to do often. And, you guys all over the world, and, you don't necessarily find these people on your doorstep that are really focused on understanding themselves to a greater and greater and greater degree, and really gone in and studied it and worked with it and living it. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy actually chatting now and again to people that have really started sussing it out, living it, putting it into practice, and moving forward. And
absolutely.
I must say, many people in my life have got there because I've trained them up and all the rest of it. And a friend of mine once said to me, I was teaching an energy class Jinshin Jitsu class, which we've had episodes on. If you wanted to go back and have a look at the Jinshin episodes, I was teaching them, and my friend came along, and he's known me for many, many years, and he came along to it, and he was really enjoying it. And he said, I've noticed all these other people that you've got here, is that they're all on a very high level, vibrating and talking and articulating and expressing themselves. And he says, I believe it's because you've trained them all up to that level. And I was like, what? No, I didn't even think about it. And then I started realizing, actually, my influence probably did play a big part in all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. And it was very interesting because I hadn't really realized that I'm now, not only do I, you attract what vibration you put out. Mm-hmm. And now I'm realizing that I grab onto a vibration that is wanting to learn a bit and work with them and play with them and then watch them grow and get to a higher level. And then I play with them on that higher level, and it's just working together and just playing. And, as I help other people grow, I'm growing. And so it's just this give and take, and it's just beautiful.
I have the same connection with many of my friends, because when I started Awakening in 2011, when I really I had the higher self experience, and when that all happened, I had a community online, and we were a Facebook group, and people from all over the world were having these experiences of all different ages. And I didn't really have any friends here in Atlanta that were going through the same thing. And it even exceeded what my husband had experienced. So I was in totally new territory. And basically, as I came to understand it, was just sharing my experiences with my friends. It has helped and aided many of them. And it is wonderful, because I feel like I'm a teacher, but I'm a student. And so it is, like you're saying, that wonderful, co-creation, collaboration of energy. So it's just great how we can all influence each other in these positive ways.
All the greatest paths and teachings that I've ever bumped into have used that word, and it's the word co-create.
Yes.
And it really resonates with me big time, and it makes a lot of sense. You start realizing that, I bounce off you, you bounce off me, and we're bouncing off each other, and there's a co-creation. But from the law of attraction, you learn another angle. You learn that none of their bouncing that has to affect you unless you allow it.
Right.
It's up to you to say, yes, I'm letting this in, or I'm not.
Absolutely.
And that is the important thing I learned from LOA, is that you do create your own reality.
And taking ownership, when you start reacting, as Walt was saying, you just let things slide off. That's, you are no longer emotionally reacting to others as many of us do. And it takes time to get there, some longer than others. I will definitely say I still react to experience those lower, emotions, but I pull myself out of it very quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. And, we touched on that last week. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's really, you're really getting to kind of dig in and propel yourself forward even more, because every time you allow yourself to experience some of those lower level emotions, or, whatever you want to call them, you go off balance a little bit and then recalibrate.
Mm-hmm.
Stronger every time.
And they're good. I mean, it's a good thing we have them. I mean, Louis and I have talked about that quite a few times. He's a great advocate for diving into the contrast.
Yes.
Celebrating the fact that it's there. I'm with you. I don't want to live there. I don't want to spend all my time there. And when I spend too much time there, I feel it. And I start thinking to myself, okay, time to shift the vibration. This isn't working for me. But
when we understand that basically there are no bad experiences, they're all learning opportunities, that really is what takes it to the next level where you can maintain better. Because if you have that core belief, you will always go back to that. Nothing bad is happening to me. What am I thinking? What am I feeling that's attracting this? And get that under control, and be thankful that now you understand that that's even, running in your subconscious, that mind chatter.
And besides the learning factor, there's the entertainment factor. There's the having fun factor.
Yes.
I mean, that's. Are you familiar with the work of Richard Bach?
No.
Louis and I are both fans of his book Illusions, which was written in the 1970s.
I've never read it. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's a fictional book. It's wonderful. We actually did a short series of episodes.
It's not fictional. It's true.
Well, okay, that too. It's both.
Whatever you say is real, Louis. Got
Exactly. Well done.
I find it's important to clarify that it was written fictionally so that people understand that it's not a how-to book in terms of you go to the bookstore and the bookstore gives you a book that says, here's how you can be a better person. It's more along the lines of...
Here's how you can make more money.
No, that's right. Definitely.
Get your girlfriend, boyfriend. It's not like that at all, is it? It's a beautiful book. Absolutely.
So his name is Richard Bach, you said?
Yeah, like Johann Sebastian Bach, B-A-C-H.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And Illusions.
Illusions is the name of the book. And
can I get that on Amazon?
Oh,
you can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's probably sold millions and millions and millions of copies by
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really fabulous. And the reason I mentioned the book is that one of the main points that the author makes in the book is that there are you can break everything down to two reasons why you do anything. One is to learn something from it, and two is to have fun doing it.
Yes. Having fun is key.
It's really important. Yeah.
It is. And anything that you're doing, if you're not having fun, you're really not aligned with it. And
if you're not having fun, you don't get it.
Right.
That's the way I look at it now.
Here's a meme I got just before on the show. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
There you go. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never lose. That really points to how we need to look at contrast.
Yes.
How we
and
can
even just
really
calling it contrast instead of a problem. I call it a challenge because it's something that I know I can overcome. It puts it in a different context for me.
I think we do that just because we assign different vibrations to that. We say, okay, well, that one's a better feeling one, so I'm going to go with that one. The word itself is actually innocuous. The question is, how do we feel about the word?
That's right.
Yeah.
What association you have with that.
Right. And what association do large numbers of people have, and that therefore you've decided you have as well.
Yeah. It's
how much time we got left?
Say that again?
I'm just wondering how much time we got left, because you mentioned you had an interest in parallel universes. So I wanted to touch on what you mean by that. Because Richard Bach talks a lot about it in his subsequent books.
He does.
Parallel universes in a big way.
Yeah.
A Bridge Across Forever one and all the rest of it. Yeah.
I basically, and I've experimented with this in my own life and switching realities quite quickly. So I believe there is a bunch of different versions of this existence right now on a spectrum of, this identity here that from my, what I would say, lowest spectrum of life choices and what path that would have led me down to the highest. And at any given moment, I'm kind of flipping in between those different versions of myself, depending on where my frequency is set. And so as I raise my vibration, I can go from being in an extremely, it seems like almost an insurmountable issue is happening. And if I raise my vibration, my reality, like you said, well, the beach, everybody just disappeared. And it's like, there's nothing to explain it other than I have moved into a different version of myself and I can feel the difference. But here's the thing is you can't just move into a different version of yourself and stay there. You have to keep your vibration there. And so that's one aspect. And then I think we're on a lot of different timelines and a lot of different identities.
I've never heard of parallel universes depicted in a way that points it out to be in the current life and time-space reality because of the changes of vibration, consequently the changes in the environment. And that was quite interesting to me. I never thought of the concept of using that as the concept of parallel universes. So the way Richard Bach pointed it out and kind of painted a picture was that every time you make a decision, because every decision is kind of two decisions. Hey, I go for it or I don't, or whatever. So when you go for it, you create a reality that's like that. But there's another part of you that made the other decision and said, I'm going that way. And then that reality forms for that one. So you've kind of got this billions of little splits that play with different contrasts going off in all different directions. And
I just think of this
fascinating
kaleidoscope. And so when I'm talking about parallel realities, I'm actually talking about here. I think there's different versions of Earth. So right now, I think we are at a switch point.
Yeah, there's about 8 billion of them.
Right?
Absolutely.
Basically, I think we're at a switch point right now and that's where timeline tracks, parallel consensus realities get created. Or we are switching over to this new, it's not actually a new Earth that already exists, right? Where things are just better. And I'm noticing the more I'm seeing more people awaken, I can see all the chaos happening, but I can feel us shifting over to this better version of another version of Earth and version of ourselves there. So
are you clear that this change of the planet is the change in your world?
Yes,
there is those fearful people that the change is getting worse. The world is getting worse for them.
That's what I mean.
Basically, and their world is getting worse.
Right. Right now, the things are overlapped because you've got so much positive and so much going on over here. It's kind of like a static almost, but they really are two different realities. And at some point, I believe and feel that we're going to start gradually seeing, like Walt was saying, 10 years from now, things are just going to be better. And I have that feeling too. And it's because I believe we are at a time where enough of us have come in and awakened together that it's a consensus reality that's being created. And so therefore we will experience it. That's my perception of it anyway.
So the perception I now have is that I'm not particularly interested in what their world is.
No.
I'm not particularly interested at all. I'm not particularly interested in raising them up to my world either.
No.
That is not my desire at all. It's many people's desire, by the way, is to raise the world up, make it a better place, etc. But my understanding is now, if I create my world to be happy and fun and have all the cooperative components come in, that may have a ripple effect on some of the other worlds.
Absolutely.
But it's because they allow it,
That's
not
right.
because I've done anything other than enjoy my world so much.
Absolutely.
I can testify that the kind of worlds that you're talking about that they have, where they're trying to draw people up and so forth, those worlds are exhausting.
They are.
Experience.
We're living in that. We are witnessing that happening. You know, my reality is very different than what I'm witnessing happening right now. Mm-hmm. So if I don't engage with that because I'm trying to change it, I'm trying to fight it, I'm resisting it, I'm just pushing against something that isn't mine to push against. I'm in alignment. So the more I can take my focus off of, like what you're saying, Louis, where I'm trying to save everyone. That isn't my job. We are all here to have our own experience. And some people came here to have that experience. That is not my business.
And you want to take it away from them?
I don't. I don't.
No, not you. It's interesting. I was in a communal house in South Africa with young professionals, and one of them was quite a strong Christian, and he had this Christian group, and of course he invites everybody to come to his Christian group. So I'm the first one to put up my hand and say, I'm quite happy to come to a Christian group. And we're sitting around there and everybody's sitting there saying, you know, let's pray for so-and-so, let's pray for this, and so-and-so's got a test and let's pray for them, and this person's sick, let's pray that they get well. And then they came to me and said, Louis, what do you want to pray for? I said, hang on, I just need to see if I've got this right. Like, what's this guy on? I said, you want to pray for somebody else without their permission, without their saying, yeah, please pray for me, or, I want your help, or I need your help. They haven't asked for it. A lot of the, as far as I can see, everyone that you've ever said here, you've prayed for somebody who didn't ask for it. So, I'm kind of the belief that people create scenarios in their life so they can learn and grow for them. But now you're asking me to want to take away these experiences for them so that their lesson goes away. I can't do that. I'm sorry.
No,
I just say, let it be,
Yeah. Well, and you also
and they just said, next.
You're out of here, buddy.
Who let him in?
I'm out. What's interesting about that too is that person's reality can't change unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
You have no effect on them in that way.
And I also said to them, am I saying to God, you're wrong for giving them this sickness?
Right.
You better go fix your mistake.
Yeah. Some of that does not make sense. I can see sending loving thoughts or energy to someone, especially if someone comes to me. I don't give out advice unless people ask, and I don't even give them advice. I'll give them an insight and let them know that is just my viewpoint. Mm-hmm. And, at the end of the day, whatever you want to take from that, you can, because I'm not in charge of changing anybody's mind.
I love the fact that you said, if they ask.
If they ask.
They have to ask. I follow that rule pretty meticulously. I don't like giving advice to somebody who doesn't ask for it. It's not, I've actually gotten myself to the point now where it's really uncomfortable.
It really can be, especially when someone that you're close to becomes overly dependent on you now.
Oh,
and then you take the time to speak to them and then they don't apply it. So they don't really want to change anything. They just want to vent so you'll make them feel better and then just go back to business as usual. So it's a waste of energy and it's not my responsibility. So like I said, I'll give insight, but it's got to feel good. And then the person can take that as they want to.
Plus, I think there's something really to be said for kind of the way you phrased it. You said something like, put it out there to them, to send them love, send them energy and so forth. And I would kind of add on to that and then let go of it.
Yes.
So often people want to hang on to, okay, have you taken this energy I've sent your way? What's wrong with you? You aren't taking the energy. That's the way people tend to think about it. But the letting go part is actually the most important part.
It is. I have compassion. Yeah. So when I see, especially those that are close to me going through a hard time, I have compassion, but I also don't get caught up in feeling guilty or, that I need to be a caretaker. It's more, I'm having compassion for the experience that they're going through, but I also understand that that is their challenge to face. And it took me a while to get here. I was always the friend when I was younger that was like the mama bear and took on that role. And it was quite exhausting. And it made me feel, I always felt so drained afterwards. And at a certain point, I started putting my own energy first. So I started noticing the effect it was having on me. It didn't feel good.
You used the word, I can't remember if you said caregiver or caretaker, but my wife Louise makes a big deal out of that. She thinks that we should only be caregivers and no one should be a caretaker, because a caretaker is someone who's taking something away. Caregiver is giving.
Yes.
But if you're taking away the unwanted, that's cool.
Yeah.
If they're willing to let you take it away. That's the point you were making.
Just bringing up this concept, there's every subject's two subjects, but I kind of approach it a little bit differently. I give advice all the time to everybody, but I don't care if you take it or not.
Right.
I'm just sitting in the sauna, I'm talking about the law of attraction, and I'm having a lot of fun. And, you like it or you don't like it, I don't really care. The ones that don't like it seem to vanish out of the sauna. The ones that do like it seem to come in.
Oh, I do that too.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, Yes. I just keep the vibe going. I'm happy. I'm just doing my stuff. And then I walk out, take it or leave it, I just don't mind.
Absolutely. When I say advice, I mean somebody coming to you with a life problem.
Yeah, people don't come to me with those.
What?
People don't come to me with those. I'm not the kind of guy you want to lean on my shoulder. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I don't have that vibration at all. If you want to get poked or invigorated or slapped around a bit, you come to Louis. But you know,
get your feathers rumpled.
Want that, so I don't get too much of that. You know, it's just the way it is. So I don't get that kind of person ever coming to me ever. It's just not being it. But I still share all the time, and I have great experiences. I have people shaking my hand, asking for my name, my number in the sauna. I just have so much fun.
I've noticed. I've definitely noticed, because I came to this years ago. The same as for me. All of my connections, my friendships are in such harmony, and I'm just merging with people that are on that same level, and it's so much better.
Well, it's law of attraction, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it's probably the easiest form. I don't know. I think everybody has their own. This is easy. This is hard to me, and it's a little bit different for everybody. But for me, the relationship thing is the easiest one for exactly the reason you just mentioned. Because all you gotta do is focus on the stuff that you like about certain kinds of people, and that's what you get.
And that's what you get. Yeah.
That's what you get. And talk about the delay factor. There's very little delay factor compared to other stuff. It happens pretty quickly.
Oh yes. The more the belief you've established, you keep practicing and validating it, the quicker it manifests. Which
is why Louis never gets that one kind of person. He just never vibrates there. It just never happens. And so, you know, he doesn't get
it just doesn't happen. It was interesting because I did have a friend who was really struggling with a boss, you know, absolutely hated this boss, and just this guy was so rude and abrupt and direct and dismissive, and he just went on and on and on. And I said to them, okay, we're going to do an exercise. The first thing I want you to do is there any aspect of this individual you like? Do they wear nice ties? Do you like the shirts? Do you like the way they treat somebody else? You know, is there anything you like? And she started saying, oh, I really like his tie, and I like his shoes, and I like this. I said, we focus on that. We focus on that. And, you know, within 3 or 4 days, she said to me, this is a different guy. I've got a different boss. I don't believe it. He's completely changed. And it was just such a revelation for her. And I said, this is the law of attraction. It's like, and then because I was out of the picture, it just vanished. All of that, you know, it was a horrible boss again and all the rest of it. You know, I phoned her months later, and it all gone back. And, you know, it to me makes complete sense. You know, it was completely logical. It's the way I expect it to have possibly gone if somebody's not really understanding a law of attraction, not really want to work with it, not really wanting to put it into their lives.
Right. You have to be consistent.
Then you're going to get the old vibrations, which have been there for a long time, that are quite strong. They're going to reenact. They're going to come alive again, aren't they?
Yes.
When old thoughts, and the old thoughts are going to be picked up by the universal law of attraction. Then they're going to get expanded, and then you're going to land back to where you were.
Absolutely. When I first started listening to Abraham Hicks, I was in a job that was super challenging. We addressed this on the first podcast, and by applying it from the time that I started to the end of the job, which was 4 years later, it was a parallel version of it. 100%. It had transformed the experience. I was not dealing with the same set of variables, the same anything. And that's when I knew it was time to actually leave, because I'd learned everything that I was supposed to through that experience. And it really, it made it so clear to me by practicing over and over and over again. And it was a game changer. That's when I was like, wow, this stuff really works.
It's totally amazing when you watch the entire environment around you go from this to that. Yeah. And the only thing that has changed, the only variable that's different is you.
Yes. Your perception of things, the way that you're processing them and feeling about them.
And if people understood that, they'd understand how to get the raise, how to get the new job, how to get the increase in the money. If they really got that, they'd understand, you know. Jim Rohn is famous for saying, I don't know if you've ever heard of Jim Rohn. He's a self-development guy who trained Anthony Robbins, or Anthony Robbins claimed that Jim Rohn was one of his teachers. And I love the guy. He was, I've seen him live. I've qualified to see him in London with only 100 people. He's just clear. But one of the things he's famous for saying is, for things to change, you have to change.
Yes.
And, you know, the thing I loved about Jim Rohn, again, as I'll say again and again, is clarity. And Walt knows I'm big on clarity.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
Clarify, please.
So,
no,
you know,
every third or fourth word that's clarity. It's not that.
But if you ever read Jim Rohn or any part of anything that he's ever written or any memes, you know, it's just the clarity's there. It's just beautiful. It's really, it was an honor. I was at a huge conference where he talked to us for the last time, because, you know, he had traveled around even at the age of 75 or whatever it was. He had still going around to about 70 countries in 1 year.
Wow.
Talking, you know. And he just stood there and he was just so relaxed, and he was telling us about how the company started and all the rest of it. And we're like 20,000 people sitting there listening to every word he said. And, you know, he had us so emotional and all the rest of it. And it's rare that anybody really affects me like that. And, you know, there's like 20,000 people and we're all on the same page, all feeling the same thing. And, you know, he had, I think it was about 7 or 8 standing ovations where he came back again and again and again. That was just incredible. And that was the last time. Then he got sick and he never came out again. You know, it was like, it was game over.
Aren't you glad that you were at that
conference? We kind of knew that this was going to be the last one, you know, even though none of us knew it consciously, but on another level, we kind of felt, you know, this was probably the last time, this great man. And then he died, you know. It's like, wow.
Wayne Dyer was one of that's the first spiritual books I started reading. And when he died, it was like really profound, because I loved his work for so many years, and he had that effect on me. I don't know if you've ever read any of his work.
So Wayne Dyer talked a lot in the beginning when I was looking at him when I was much younger about a lot of religious stuff, and he was comparing them and doing all this stuff, and I hated that. I wanted nothing to do with religion. Wayne Dyer was out, okay? Now that he's dead, I'm really appreciating the guy. He was amazing.
He actually really was. I came in later in the scene, so he had transitioned from his earlier beliefs into everything that we're talking about now. And it's quite amazing. And I related to it so much because I think of his background. So it was the first spiritual reading that I was really doing at the time. And so it was something that was relatable to me. But yeah, none of the books that I read had anything to do with Christianity. But he spoke about. I mean,
he would be comparing Buddhism with Christianity, with Taoism, et cetera,
right.
He'd be playing them all against each other and showing them, you know, how the unified oneness of them all is important. What is similar, not what's different. And, you know, and because I was in that period of my life where religion was like, no more religion.
I love the fact, by the way, you crossed your fingers when you said no more religion.
I know.
I think it's fabulous.
Well, I was a Christian, so.
I really understand, because even going to any sort of a church, even Unity, was hard for me, even though it was non-denominational. And that's what they did, was pulled the wisdom from all the different teachings. But I still had such a rebellion against that I had to kind of withdraw from it, even though I truly do believe that there is a coherency to just enlightened humans that would come here. And religion was based on the following, because religion was the earliest form of government. So I don't actually think that religions are based on what the person was the leader, the prophet, whatever you want to call them, was actually saying. I think the interpretations were used to control the masses.
You're going to love Richard Bach.
Yes, I really am going to check that out.
Not so much the book Illusions, but the later books. Louis alluded to two of them, The Bridge Across Forever and one or two other books. And I don't remember which book it is, but one of those books tells the story about how these two main protagonists, Richard and Leslie, stumble upon
this incredible book. This amazing.
It's an amazing,
brilliant, perfect, stunning.
They
possibly New Religion book.
they stumble upon this book, which they end up calling The Pages, and they realize this is the most brilliant stuff they've ever read in their life, and they want everybody to know about it. There's this mystic guru on this mountaintop with them that they're having this conversation with, and the mystic guru kind of asks them to, imagine how is this all going to play out. And so they play out this whole thing in their imaginations about how the pages just become really big and they spread everywhere. And then there's this big fight between the pages and the cross, and the pages win over the cross. There's bloodshed. By the time they're done, they decide they want to burn the pages. They want to stop all of that.
So they never released that book.
They never released it.
That is hilarious.
It's brilliant. I love it.
The big revelation is we just saved the world from a religion.
Oh my God.
We just saved it from many strife and wars and death.
I'm going to need all of these book titles in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
So Richard Bach made another very famous book, which is called Jonathan Livingston's Seagull, and there was a movie about it as well.
Yep.
You can go watch the movie, and it's beautiful. It's all about a seagull.
That was his first one. Great story, by the way. But all of his books are easy to recommend. They're all very, very good books.
I'm definitely going to check him out.
He was so way beyond his time.
Oh, no doubt about it.
So, when did this material all start coming out?
1970s.
Wow.
Yeah. Really, and they're all worthwhile. I mean, Louise and I comment how the place we're in right now, we're so cramped for space. So we have boxes of books downstairs that we don't even know where the boxes are. We know they're in there, but we're periodically we discover another box. Oh, here's another box of books. How about that? And I know that those books are in one of those boxes. So I think I'm actually getting to the point now where I'm saying, I think I want that box to manifest. So it's going to kind of pop out of the pile the next time I'm down there. Because
of course. Because you're looking for it and wondering where it is. You can't find it.
Right.
The minute you let it go, there it is.
Let go and let source. Oh,
let it go,
we have to
let
change
it
it now.
flow.
Let go and let stream.
Oh, yeah, I got to mention that because starting tomorrow, the Stream of David is joining us on the podcast, and it's going to be the first of every Tuesday.
I'm very excited he's going to be on Tuesdays. I really enjoyed the ones I listened to.
He is a treat to talk to. I wanted to ask you actually because there was a video that I saw one time. I think Louis has seen it, but I wondered if you saw it. It was a dialogue between Wayne Dyer and Abraham.
Yes.
Yeah, seen it.
I did.
A few times at least.
It was like watching a heavyweight boxing match.
I know.
I didn't perceive that at all.
I love the
Abram smashed them through. Smashed Wayne Dyer to the.
I didn't say it was close. I didn't say that Abraham won on points. It was a knockout in the first round.
Well, one of the points in there was fascinating. Wayne was saying, "Why is 3:15 so important? I get all my inspiration at 3:15." And Abram's answer was, "Well, why is 3:15 important to you?" That's the answer. You've made it important to you, and that's it. That's all it is. There was all this involved with it. And I was like, yeah, I love that.
That's what I love so much about Abraham is the humor that comes through.
I don't get the humor. They, to me, there's almost zero humor there. They're just stating the facts, and we see it as funny.
Well,
and literally, I don't really hear them laughing. I don't feel them laughing.
Well, Abraham pointed out what
human. I get a human's like you can see them change and the vibration goes and they're laughing and all the rest of it. But I don't get that with them. I don't get it.
But remember, Abraham points out what humor is and why it is. Remember, they were asked the question, why is it that they never find anything funny? And their answer was, it's because we're never surprised.
That's right.
Thereby pointing out that humor is
taught you that
surprise.
one. I remember.
So, that basically is saying, when you say that you don't find it humorous, what you're basically saying is you're never surprised by it.
Yeah. And I don't feel that surprise in them when they're saying that. I feel the surprise in me, which laughs at what they've just said.
Yes.
But I really don't feel the humor in them. So when people say that, it kind of is just a little bit confusing for me because I don't see it. I understand that I'm laughing at them, but I don't see that they themselves are laughing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They just never seem to laugh.
Hey, that's your perception.
Yeah, it's fine.
Absolutely. It definitely, I love, that's one of the things about,
you actually feel or perceive them laughing. You do.
Yeah, more not laughing. It's, I guess, the forthrightness and the directness of it is just so
and then you laughing at them. Yeah.
And it resonates so much that, yes, that is what I'm responding to.
It's like
I appreciate that completely.
It's like a great stage comedian. A great stage comedian can reel off all their jokes without ever laughing,
with keeping a straight pan face. Yeah.
And that's basically what they're able to do, spiritually speaking, which is it's a cool skill.
I love it.
Hey, we're out of time, but I want to remind people. I'm loving this part. You don't have to subscribe the way you used to subscribe. Subscribing is now really easy. So here's the way to subscribe. You
download the app.
That's it. You just download the app. And it's so simple.
LOA Today.
LOA Today. You go, if you're on an iPhone, you go to the App Store. If you're on an Android, you go to the Play Store and you search for LOA Today.
And I've done it. It works.
Yeah, it's super easy. On the Android, I put little quotation marks around it and it came right up.
It's actually now coming up, not at the top of the list, but it's now on the list if you do it without the quotation mark.
Okay, great. I got it as soon as you said it was ready.
Yeah, right. No, I was checking it over the weekend, and yeah, on both lists, we're cropping up. We're creeping up the list a little bit. We're not near the top yet, but we're getting there. So you can spot it. But you're right, putting quotation marks around it gets it a lot easier. You find it a lot faster. But yeah, be sure that you download it. I am getting great feedback. I love the feedback. If you have not sent in an email and you want to tell me about it, please do. My email is walt@loatoday.net. And more importantly, tell a friend to tell a friend. Pass the app along. Tell other people about it, because I built this thing so that people could share it, so that the people could use it, get the value out of it. And I'm really hoping that listeners will do that. I know already they have. But
absolutely. Wherever I'm sharing these videos, I'm also letting them know that the app is available, because it's great.
I really want that, because
right.
That's how this is going to spread. That's how more and more people are going to get their daily dose of happiness.
Yeah, they can listen to it while they're working out, going on a walk, driving.
And plus, with the next update coming out probably sometime this week, depends on how much work I have to put down in the garden business. But at some point, there's going to be the update, and that's going to include the material that Daniel Mangana has donated, including his audiobook, Beyond Intention, and his ebook, Beyond Wealth. So you got basically two great value adds just by being a subscriber, by having the LOA Today app on your device. I mean, how cool is that? So, yep, download it, subscribe, share, tell people, help spread the word, because that's how we keep getting the word out there to more and more people. Thank you, guys. Another great Monday.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Jeffrey. He says he also loves saunas.
He does love saunas, yes. He also said, I get a lot of people who come to me with life problems, and I love helping them. It became my business, and I'm highly successful now. So
nice. See, everyone gets to have a different experience. Lou, it was great talking to you as always.
Likewise, take care.
I'm loving every second of this. Thank you, guys.
We're going to have fun in the days to come, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And thank you especially to our podcast listeners, because without you, we wouldn't have a podcast. And I tell you, we love every one of you. So thank you very much. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.